Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, encoded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry havoc, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 encoded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, also said you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Drive-In, where we watch good movies and we talk about them. Or most of the time, like 9 times out of 10.
We attempt to watch good movies.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
Yeah, we try. We have a good time. And we got a fun one tonight. Jed, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. This week, with the exception of Superman, I've watched exclusively good or at least enjoyable movies because after Wrath of Khan, I marathoned the rest of the Shatner movies, with the exception of Undiscovered Country. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I love these old Star Trek movies, even if they're not great. The Whales one is dumb. That is a dumb movie, but I loved
Voyage
every
Home,
second
though.
of it. It's so much fun. It's the characters.
Yeah, I mean, Voyage Home is not a serious movie.
No.
It's not a serious movie at all, but I love it. I love it.
I forgot how close together all of those movies are because, there's Wrath of Khan, which leads directly into Search for Spock, which obviously is right into Voyage Home. And they mentioned that there's only 3 weeks that they've been on the new Enterprise at the beginning of Final Frontier. So these movies, less than a year for these 4 movies at this point, 3 movies at this point.
I mean, it's like essentially it's a trilogy, and then they make Final Frontier, which, I mean, what does God need with the starship? You know,
it's kind of timeline wise, though, it's tapped on right.
Yeah. I mean, they're still on their shakedown with the Enterprise A, and then Undiscovered Country, which is a few years later. Then the Enterprise A is over. It's done. That she had a very brief run out there. And
I don't know if this is controversial, but it should have been the Enterprise B, considering there was already a first one. You start the letter.
That was the original one. That was the original Constitution class from the original series. It just got a refit in motion picture, and then went through her hellish two movies from Khan into Search for Spock, and then I disagree. I think having it be A is fine because then now it's just the president to keep it going.
Well, no, it keeps it going, yes, but B, I think, makes more sense because A, you assume, is the first one.
No,
A is the second one.
It didn't have the. Well, see, listen, I had a fight with a friend a long time ago. This is in high school, and he wanted to bet hard money that at the end of Star Trek 4, it was not the Enterprise A. And I'm like, dude, you really want to do this? It's like, yeah, it's not Enterprise A. It's not Enterprise A. I'm like, it's Enterprise A. You don't know. No, it isn't. I'm like, you don't want to do this. And of course I won because it's me. And I remember this shit, and Yeah, and then you get the Enterprise B at the beginning of Generations, and there's no stories for the Enterprise B. It doesn't have much of at least not a on the record history in films and television outside of its introduction Generations. And the C has it plays an important role in history where it leads into the truce between the Klingons and the Federation, because it was at the battle. Not a Kittimer. That's a different thing. You know what I'm talking about, though. That's all. It's Worf's entire freaking backstory. And then, of course, the D. The D
is my favorite.
The D is the D honestly, even comparing to the original, the D has the most history out of any Enterprise. 7
it goes through a lot.
Full seasons of adventures.
I like that it's focused on being an exploratory vessel. Like, it made sense with the Enterprise, like the first one, because I want to call it the Enterprise A, because that's what makes sense in my brain. But the original Enterprise, they are going into new frontier that no one's ever discovered before, so they need to be a little bit more military minded. So it makes sense that they're military minded. But by the time the D comes around,
it's an exploratory ship. I mean, Galaxy class ships they have a lot of firepower. Let's not get this wrong. Galaxy class ships have a ton of firepower, but they are still also exploratory vessels, which are meant to house enough people and enough resources to go on some deep space exploration. But then you get to the E, the Sovereign class. That thing is a war machine. The Sovereign class is a war machine created during the Dominion War. So that's people shit on the E. I love the E. I think the Sovereign class is a beautiful ship design. I love it. I love its power. It's got quantum torpedo launchers on it. We've had this discussion.
We have. I'm not a fan of that era. The E, the costumes, the bridge. It's not the worst.
I love it all. I love it all.
I don't like any of that design.
I love it all. And then after that, the rest of them only appear in gaming adaptations, like Star Trek Online. You get the F, the G. And they get the F, get the F, and then the G does appear eventually, but that's a story for another time. Okay, but we're not here to talk Star Trek as much as we want to. It's very, very easy to go down that rabbit hole. Not hard. Doesn't take much for me to start waxing poetic about Star Trek, but we are here to talk The Rock. Welcome to The Rock. That's the best I can do for a Connery. Listen, Sean Connery, one of my favorite actors of all time. I love Sean Connery. We call him the man in this household. And so I enjoy it. So this was your choice. Before that, of course, hail and howdy to everybody across the chat. We're happy to have you with us here this evening. If you're having a good time already, hit that like button. Smash it, touch it, tickle it. I don't care. Just make it happen. It helps. It helps. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that look. You know I'm going to say something weird at some point. Jed, this was your week. You chose The Rock, 1996, when they still could make action movies.
Yes, this film, I absolutely love this film. I put it up as one of the only good Michael Bay movies. In the 90s, he was hit or miss, but these days he's terrible. But the worst parts of The Rock are the Michael Bay-isms. So he's still what holds this film back, I think. I don't know if he had a better screenwriter he was working with back in the 90s, but there are some Michael Bay-isms in this film that really hold it back for me. But The Rock is a story of a disenfranchised Marine general who just wants to see heroes who fell for their country honored correctly, honored well, with their families compensated for the great sacrifice that they made. And he obviously makes mistakes in doing so. He takes over Alcatraz Island with a bunch of nerve gas missiles pointed at San Francisco and is holding basically San Francisco hostage until the U.S. government makes right the many tragedies that they've caused because of these fallen soldiers. And Nicolas Cage, FBI agent who's an expert in chemical warfare, goes in with an expert on The Rock, Sean Connery, to try to stop this plot before anybody dies. And this, I think this film is just so much better written than it has any right to be.
You're
when
right.
You hear that concept, you're just like, oh yeah, it's going to be a dumb, fun action movie. The
it's
general's
a complicated story there. I mean,
especially Ed Harris. I think he is incredibly well written and well performed.
Ed Harris's general, I forget his name right now. I mean, actually, I have it right here because I'm going to talk about this cast. General Hummel. Ed Harris's General Hummel That's a complicated villain. It's and here's the thing. What he's trying to shine a light on, it's something we can all understand and get behind. Proper care for the widows and orphans of deceased veterans, of men who've died in the line of duty.
Who were basically lied about and forgotten to protect whatever mistakes or illegal activities the U.S. government has made.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so understandable where he's coming from, and he constantly tries to do the right thing. I mean, you see at the beginning of the film where Ed Harris and his team break into that facility to steal the nerve gas. They're using beanbag guns, they're using tasers, they're using dart guns, all non-lethals because they don't want to hurt anyone. Obviously, there's the shootout when the Navy SEALs attack, but he's constantly trying to avoid damage. He talks to the little kids and is like, "Hey, you guys should get back on your boat and go back to town." And at every opportunity, he's trying to mitigate casualties, trying to mitigate creating more men like the ones he's trying to maintain the memory for, which is the tragic thing, because that's all he's doing is creating more men.
The problem is,
it's a bluff.
Yeah, I mean that we'll jump right to the twist at the end there. It was all a bluff. He was never going to do it. He didn't. He was not going to, because his men and him, not Tony Todd's crew that comes on. His men, these were honorable men who wanted to have this wrong righted. And these were soldiers who, to Michael Behan's character, the Navy SEAL commander, when he says, you took an oath to protect this country, how you can't break this. They didn't actually. No one had actually died up to that point. And if the SEAL team hadn't, because the rocks fall in the bathroom scene, and the SEAL team open fires first because the guy is that one of those guys freaking out. He thinks it's the beginning of the attack, and then the massacre in the bathroom happens. Nobody had died at that point.
Is such a great scene because you see Ed Harris just crumple to the floor,
and he's screaming,
"Ceasefire, ceasefire!"
He didn't want that. He didn't want that.
He did in that moment is create more men like those he's trying to protect. Those Navy SEALs, because this is an incursion on U.S. soil, which they're not supposed to do. Like Alcatraz is part of U.S. soil. They can get in trouble for doing what they're doing. Or, I mean, they're not going to get in trouble, but it's technically illegal. Those Navy SEALs will be forgotten, and their family members won't receive the benefits, just like all the other soldiers that he listed in his speech to the Pentagon. So he's just creating more of this. That's the tragedy of the character, is he's perpetuating and trying to stop it.
And that's why you realize this isn't just a dumb fun action movie. There is an actual moral quandary in all of this, and a complicated villain who is in fact not a villain. He's just a man going to an extreme length to try and prove a point, and willing to fall on his sword for his men at the very end, saying the escape plan was always, you guys are going to bail out. I will stay here and take full responsibility for these actions. And like you said, Ed Harris, when you realize that he's not in the movie all that much, maybe about 20 minutes, maybe, but it's a powerful performance, and it's gripping, and you feel for the man. And it's like, damn, I don't fault him for what he's doing because of the shady shit that's been going on.
Well, this is an example of my favorite type of villain. I love villains who you can understand where they're coming from. That's different than misunderstood villains. I think those two types of villains get conflated with each other a lot these days. No, I love villains that you can totally buy where they're coming from. They're not just generic, "Oh, I like to eat babies" kind of villain. They're trying to do what's right. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The villains who epitomize that cliche are the ones that I love the most, because in any little circumstances are different, and Ed Harris is the hero of this movie. And like he said, John Adams, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they're all branded as traitors and eventually become patriots. There is possibly a world in which he could be remembered as a hero if he had made different choices. The nerve gas was the wrong direction to go.
Wrong way to do this.
wrong
Completely
way
wrong
to
way.
do this, especially because it can only ever be a bluff. I think the main general that we see, the 4-star general at the Pentagon, who's obviously close friends with Ed Harris, knows that it's always going to be a bluff. That's why he never seems to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like he's never
Yeah.
upset. He's never rushed. He's never seems to be worried. And there were better plans. With the different plan, Ed Harris is a hero. Logistically, it's the logistics of the situation that make him a villain.
Michael Bean's SEAL commander says we're up against the greatest battalion commander from the Vietnam of all time. This man is a legend. And so, and you're right. Like I think that was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who was the general. That one. They're calling each other by first name. He knows the history, and even he understood it. And that's why I think it is so difficult for him when he's setting up the whole thermite blasting plan, because deep down he knows, like just like Mason says, I looked in his eyes. He's a soldier. He's not a murderer. And that's the difference between understanding wartime and insanity, in this case mercenaries. These are soldiers. These are men who fought for their country and fought with honor. And I know it's kind of not in this movie, but I take that line, he's a soldier, not a murderer, to also be a soft commentary on the Vietnam era, because those men who were either drafted or already enlisted went over there, did what their country had tasked them to do, and when they came home, they were called murderers and not soldiers. When they were soldiers doing their job, it was a disgusting, despicable war. They call it a war. It wasn't actually a war. We know the terminology and other stuff, but it was an action that was just the height of Cold War politics and fighting off the domino effect and all that stuff that I could go into for a long time. I spent years studying this shit. Point is, there's a lot of subtlety in this movie, and it's good. And
it's a lot of great commentary, like you said. Like, it isn't trying to make a political stance. It's not trying to get you to vote one way or another. It just highlights a real concern that happened with soldiers coming back from the Vietnam War, and doesn't pass judgment on the situation. I think those are the best forms of commentary in filmmaking, is when they highlight an issue and let you have your opinions on it, but don't try to force you into thinking one way or another. Because there's also the argument of PTSD. There's also the idea that these soldiers, Ed Harris making the wrong decisions in the logistics of the situation, is born out of that wartime mentality, is that he doesn't know how to perform these actions in a domestic setting.
One way.
He only knows the enemy. How do I deal with the enemy? And so he had to think of San Francisco as the enemy.
But because he's a soldier and not a murderer, he was never going to cross that line. Unlike Tony Todd's additional crew, who I will talk about, which kind of is one. This is a great movie, but for me, in terms of some of the content, some of the reasoning, those are where my nitpicks are going to come in for this. I have some problems with a few events throughout the movie and decisions, or maybe lack thereof proper buildup. But one of the things I do want to dive into right now, Ed Harris, fantastic casting. Ed Harris, a great actor. And this movie, you got to take a moment to step back and realize how many people they packed into this movie. This is a cast of who's who in terms of action and drama, and essentially some of the best character actors of the 80s and 90s, who were always brought in to either be good bad guys or good henchmen. Now I'm gonna go down the list. We take off the three primary stars: Sean Connery, Nick Cage, Ed Harris. They're the top billing, and these are guys all who they have story filmographies. But then you go down one: John Spencer as Director Womack. Fantastic TV actor. Starred in many massive TV shows, and somebody who I knew in real life. I knew John Spencer because my mom did his hair in the 70s and 80s. So up until around 94, right before he made this, because it was made in 96, she probably did his hair right before he went and shot this. Because he showed up, it was right after I had pneumonia, was the last time I saw him in January of 94. And he showed up in my kitchen in Fairhaven, New Jersey. And that was where I heard the Richard Gere gerbil story for the first time. I mean, this man floated in and out of my life for the first part of my year. So I knew this guy. He was a cool dude. So, I mean, so you see him in this movie, and I go, yeah, I remember John. He's passed away now. He's no longer with us. So, but I mean, John Spencer, you had a top tier TV actor who could make movies, but also a good dude who I knew in real life. You had David Morse, who praised perennial serious dudes in television and movies. You had William Forsythe, who can go good guy or bad guy given the task. He can go either way. You had Michael Biehn, who you know well from all the way. Michael Biehn, fantastic. And funny enough, not the first time he plays a Navy SEAL, because he also starred in Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen and Bill Paxton. And then you had I love John C. McGinley in almost anything he's in. He could do comedy. He could do serious. It's great. Then you had my man, R.I.P. Tony Todd. And you just keep going down. And I had forgotten how hot Vanessa Marcil was back then. I had forgotten how hot she was. I had thought about her in a long time.
Is that Nick Cage's fiance girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was horrible.
Oh, the character's
the
terrible.
decisions she's making in the film are just
terrible.
ridiculous.
She's a dumb bitch, but she's smoking hot. And I had forgotten how hot she was. But
she's the prom queen.
Yeah, she is the prom queen. But point is, though, you look at that cast. That is an incredible cast there, and everybody nails it at every single angle. That is one of the powerful things about this movie is everybody does a great job. Nobody's miscast. Everybody is Nick Cage, who at this point we're used to seeing do action stuff. I am kind of bumbling, and he pulls it off. And of course, Sir Sean Connery, the man, nails every aspect. But I want to take a moment here to destroy the theory that everybody likes to do for this movie. He's James Bond in jail. There is one single line that destroys all of that. You want to know what it is?
Is it that he was arrested in 1962, which was before all of his movies came out?
My man, exactly.
I love the headcanon of it, just to think, it would be kind of cool if this is, but I love the headcanon theory. Obviously, it cannot be true because of the contradictions in the film and rights, if nothing else. But I do enjoy that theory. I do like that idea quite a bit.
But it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't
because he's in jail during From Russia with Love and Goldfinger and Thunderball and beyond. During Sean Connery's run as James Bond. So, no, I hate that theory. I despise that theory. And I'm glad I caught that line to go, here's the evidence I need to blow it out of the water.
I don't know if anyone takes it seriously because it rights issues if nothing else.
Some people like, he's James Bond.
I do like the headcanon of it. That's how I like to think of it. Obviously, I know it's not true, but I think most people who talk about it know it's not true, but it's kind of an interesting way to think about it.
I never liked it. It annoys me. It annoys me. I never liked it. So I like that line, and I will use that every goddamn time.
They mention it multiple times. They say 1962 multiple times in the film, which I knew couldn't work. I didn't know the exact year that Dr. No came out, but I knew at least
that's essentially the year Dr. No came out. 62.
Yeah, I knew at least most of his movies came out after then. So unless they were retconning all of the Connery movies to be period pieces from the 50s, which they obviously weren't, it can't work.
Yeah, all the Connery movies take place in the 60s. With the exception of Never Say Never Again, but that doesn't count because that's not really a Bond movie. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, but cast outstanding, and everybody nails it. So I don't have any problems with any of these characters. I mean, because we talked about General Hummel, Sean Connery's Mason, fantastic portrayal of a spy who got busted, disavowed, burned, and left to rot in prison and forgotten. It's the flip side of Hummel's thing. Completely forgotten, life taken away, life that could have been with his daughter. And it's so well done that Connery is able to, and this is the mastery of Sean Connery's performance. He's able to shift from snarky badass to I just want to live a normal life now. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to try and have what's up to my life. And it's done so well. And he still even managed to pull off some of the action scenes, because
he pulled off them really well.
This was his last action-oriented movie. I don't know what year that movie he did with what's her name? Shit. Michael Douglas's wife.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, I don't know what year he did that thief movie with her. I'm not sure. I don't remember year. But
did he do a whole lot of action in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Because that was like 2000.
That was 2000.
I think so. I thought it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Let me look that up. I can look up like 2 seconds right here.
It was definitely after Last Crusade.
Rock. Actually, no. Well, he did the Avengers, which wasn't really action. He didn't do much of that. Oh, you're right. He did League in 2003.
I haven't seen it, but I think he does action in that one.
He does a lot of he does some action in it. He does. He's as Alan Quartermain. I was gonna say that this might be his last one because those were like his last movies, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it is entirely fair to say this is his last big action movie because the stunts he is involved in, or obviously stunt double, are insane for his age. So this would definitely be a pinnacle in his sunsetting career for action.
Yeah, because this was his last major. Because I don't know, I've never actually seen Entrapment, so I don't know much action in that. He did have action sequences in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but between that, he did Finding Forrester, which is an excellent movie. And after that, I mean, honestly, League was his last full-on movie. Everything else was all voice work because he did the voiceover work for Russia With Love video game, and everything else was just either narration or stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. He officially retired in 2012, and we know now because he was suffering from early dementia at that point. So he was kind of didn't have his full faculties.
I think his death is one of the few celebrity deaths that hit me.
I was sad. I was so sad when he passed. But he passed with grace because his family kept him out of the public eye at that point because they wanted. I remember hearing this. They wanted to retain the image of his dignity that he had when
they
he
didn't parade
was
him
himself.
about for sympathy.
He wasn't himself anymore, so they just kept him out of the limelight, and nobody knew until it was over. But he is fantastic. You're like next to League. This is one of his last action hurrahs, and he pulls it off. And what I like respective is that they show that yes, as deadly as he is, when in close combat with these younger fit Marines, he can't handle them.
He can handle Nicolas Cage in all his fights, but
because Nicolas Cage is not a trained Marine.
Yeah, anyone with actual training, though, he has to outsmart them. And all of his action scenes feel incredibly believable. That's not true for everyone in this film, but Sean Connery's, I feel, are very believable.
Yeah. Of course, Nick Cage. Nick Cage is Nick Cage. He is a versatile actor. He can pull off bumbling. He can pull off crazy. He can pull off action hero. He can pull off kind of nice guy. He can do all that kind of stuff. So I don't have Stanley Goodspeed's whole thing is interesting because he's portrayed his introduction is an excellent introduction to the character, I think, with the whole what was it? Sarin gas? It was sarin gas, wasn't it?
I think it was something like that.
It was like sarin attached to the C4 in the doll. But that whole scene is a great starting thing because first he's just goofing around in the office, but then, something serious. And when the crunch happens, he's serious. In his field, he is excellent at what he does, as opposed to his goober of a partner in that scene. I'm playing with the doll like an idiot and setting the whole goddamn thing off.
Oh, yeah. He needs to be fired for that one, honestly. But yeah, Nicolas Cage's character, he's very good at showing when he's in his element. He is confident. He's self-assured. He's afraid, obviously, and does not want to stick that needle in his chest at the beginning.
Great setup. Great setup. One of the best setups I've ever seen.
Payoff. But when he's out of his element, even if it's not a dangerous situation, he's clearly uncomfortable and just bumbling. That's when he's bumbling, is when he's out of his element. Like the interrogation scene, he's not in any danger there, but he's incredibly uncomfortable. He doesn't know what to do. And I like that depiction when he's expert and when he's in his element, when he's an expert on the situation, he can handle it well, which sets up him being able to handle disarming the weapons at the third act of the film. I can totally buy him keeping his head cool during those disarmament scenes, even with gunfights going off in the background.
Perfect example. When they're disarming the first missile, suddenly their roles are reversed, where Mason has been alpha male in charge the whole time. Suddenly, when he has to hold the pearls, he's like, he is now suddenly a little uncomfortable, and suddenly Stanley is all like, okay, now I'm in charge. You listen to what I'm saying, and I'm going to describe to you how horrible this stuff is and what we have to do. So that's great direction and great writing, and great acting right there, where these two guys can seamlessly reverse roles in this moment, and you believe it. You believe it because we had enough establishment of Mason that Mason, he's an intelligent man, a philosopher, and he knows when he's out of his depth. So he's just going to stand there. He's not going to be some stupid guy who goes, "Oh, you shut up. You don't talk to me like that. I was breaking necks while you were still in your daddy's sack when you were a kid," or some shit like that. You know, he just shows, okay, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen because I know I'm looking at Armageddon in my hands right here, right now. And then Stanley's suddenly confident, like you said, because he knows how horrible this stuff is. And back to what you said also, like the gunfights out of his element. Every time there's a gunfight, this is Stanley. It's like ducking down, shooting randomly, not even looking, gangsta style. So it's an excellent portrayal and a dichotomy of respecting characters in their roles and when they shine and when they should falter. And it's very well done. And I appreciate that. It's believable. I believe everybody is competent in their roles. Although there is then one of my small criticisms is in the first act, which a lot of my problems are towards the end of each act. If you find a coincidence in that, in the end of the first act, I find the incompetence of the FBI surrounding Mason in the hotel. It's just, I was going, really? Are we really this stupid? Are we really this dumb that we're all just sitting there having a party, eating food, while the director of the FBI is having a conversation with this dude out there that everybody's so afraid of? Really?
It would have been a lot more believable if he had taken the rope and tried to get down to the next level, like rappelled down the building, got into another hotel room, and then quietly snuck away.
And here is, I think, where we're going to agree. We now go. That entire scene is Bayism. It's Bay explosions, and that scene is one of the things that you could cut. This movie is a little over 2 hours. You could cut easily 20 minutes out of this movie, and it's all in relation to Bayisms. And especially this scene with a little better writing, a little bit of direction. Though I know that his whole escape scene is to show his skills, show how smart he is, what he's capable of, and of course then to lead up to meeting his daughter. They could have done that an entirely different way and had a better setup later.
It feels almost pointless because it's detached from the main plot. It takes so long.
Thank you.
And yeah, you could easily cut it to where he sneaks into the elevator, gets away, whatever. We'll accept the weird thing with the food and whatnot. Nicolas Cage follows him. And if you notice, Nick Cage doesn't actually have any reason to know that Sean Connery went down into the kitchens. He's just going down that escalator following him. How did he know that that's where he was going? So just cut it there, have Nick Cage look a little confused right there, and then cut to him figuring out, all right, the daughter lives nearby.
Michael Bay wanted a car chase with explosions.
Which, yeah, I fully believe all the worst issues with this film come down to the Michael Bayisms, because without these moments, this is a very tight, very grounded story. A lot of the stuff makes sense. A lot of the science it's movie science, but it's thought out movie science. Yeah, it's believable in the context of the film. Physics are, for the most part, pretty grounded, but then you just randomly have the car chases that go way over the top, especially at the end. I think the first part of it was fine, goes way over the top.
The trolley and
why is there a mine under Alcatraz? There's not a real mine down there, and they never explain why there's mines under Alcatraz. They're just thrown in there for the action sequence. And like, then the last big one is Nicolas Cage having the pearl in his pocket.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That is a massive problem for me. That's smart character behaving stupid.
Well, we saw at the beginning of the film, which I love that setup. It's such a simple thing to have that one pearl break in that when they're stealing the gas.
How fragile it was.
That's what I was about to say. Is it bumps against the wall and shatters. He's thrown through walls at the end of the film.
Yes, all right,
rolling around wrestling. But so I do want to point out that it's such a simple trick to have one of the guys die there when they're stealing the nerve gas. It's the most obvious thing to do, but it's a great example of show, don't tell. We get the explanation from Nicolas Cage later on exactly what the gas does to you when you're exposed, but we establish the stakes early on with a vivid and visceral display of the damage it does so that we know the stakes enough to accept the premise until an exposition scene can be cohesively inserted with Nicolas Cage. And it's such a basic trick, but utilized very well.
I mean, you've jumped into one of my other problems, but I want to finish this. I want to lead up to that. We'll go through my problems and we can talk about other stuff because I have to talk about these problems. These are glaring problems to me in what is otherwise a fun, well-acted, well-performed, well-written, and mostly well-directed movie. You have the car chase scene. You could have eliminated that whole thing and just had him not even do it, honestly. I mean, have him meet the daughter or do it like that, but they could have just been a simple spy type thing, not super spy action. At the same time, someone said, but Adam, we needed the daughter established so that later on, Stan could tell Mason, oh, your daughter's going to die if this shit gets into San Francisco. You know what? Why didn't we lead with that in the beginning of the movie? Telling Mason the truth of what's going to go on if the nerve gas gets into the air. Why does it take 2 acts for that to get revealed to him to get him to come around on that end? I think
to make the car chase happen.
Bad writing. You could have skipped it. And right there, that's like 20 minutes out of the movie. Right there. You cut it down, slim it down, because that, like you said perfectly, you were exactly on my train level of thought there. You forget what's going on, the main plot of the movie during that car chase. I'm thinking, wait a minute, do we have time for this? There's a ticking time bomb going on here, essentially. What? So so that is a major problem in that first act. And then that leads to my problems in the second act, where again, I feel as though smart people behaving stupidly. Mm-hmm. And then that leads to one of my two glaring problems in the third act. The whole holding on to the nerve gas pearl during that fight with evil mercenary number 2 after Tony Todd.
It was all set up so that he could shove the pearl in the mouth. That's
exactly.
The whole reason it existed, but there's better ways of doing it. Have it roll away when it does. He doesn't catch it, but it doesn't hit anything, doesn't break. The fight scene happens, and the fight scene happens to lead to Nicolas Cage on the ground near the pearl, and he's able to reach for it and shove it in the mouth. You still accomplish the same thing with the same fight sequence, basically, just without he's holding it through doing stunts. He eventually puts it in his pocket, and then they're rolling on the ground.
How is it not broken? Their bodies came together. The dude was punching him. How did it not break in his vest? And it doesn't make sense for him to put the entire cluster of pearls into the grate and just take that one. It makes
he had it in his hand at that moment. Put it in with the other ones.
Thank you.
Because that is a good hiding spot. Yeah. With what he had available, that was a good hiding spot for the pearls.
It's safe. It's not going to get jostled. Nothing's going to fall on it. It's got a metal grating above it. Why not just put that in there? No, he takes it with him for the pure story purpose to shove it in the dude's mouth. And you just said there are many other storytelling, directorial ways to have that ball roll around and miraculously not break, but it would have been such a better.
It's contrived no matter how they do it, but at least make it interesting. This level. Mm-hmm.
Make it interesting. Have it rolling around surreptitiously throughout the fight, thinking, "Oh shit, it's gonna," and have it just woo, and then suddenly when he's on the ground and the dude's on him. It rolls right in front of him. Then he can grab it, turn around, shove it in the dude's mouth. That's believable action bullshit right there. But it's not believable to put it in his vest pocket and go through a close combat fight where he gets thrown through a goddamn wall and not have it burst in his jacket. And then for him to very carefully and not squeeze it close in his hand, pull it out, and then shove it into it.
And the guy just happens to leave his mouth open enough for that big thing. That pearl is big. Like, you have to open your mouth a lot to fit it in.
It's the size of like a child's fist. What is this? So that is a glaring error era.
That's another example of a Michael Bayism. He had a cool action moment that he had in his head, and he didn't care to justify it. That's why I think this film could have been a ton better with the same writing team, because the writing team was on point.
Yes.
And a better director. I don't know who would have been better at this era in 96, but just someone to say no to Michael Bay, or a good producer at least to say, you need to calm down.
Look at the producer. Jerry Bruckheimer was the producer. Why not let Bruckheimer direct it?
Bruckheimer's did some great films in the 90s and early 2000s. Just he needed to have a little bit more balls to say, Michael Bay, this is fucking dumb.
Maybe he was very hands-off during it, is all I can think of. Because Bruckheimer is a smart director and a good producer. He's not dumb. So he must have been very hands-off, because this is like the middle of Michael Bay's rise to temporary stardom, where everybody just goes like, Bay explosions, and we're okay with Bay explosions.
I don't like most Michael Bay movies. I enjoy the Bad Boys, but I think
Bad
The Rock
Boys
is
2.
his best film.
I love Bad Boys 2. That Bad Boys 2 is the only Michael Bay movie where I don't see any Bay flaws. There's no flaws in that movie, and all his explosions work. But I hate Transformers. I despise.
And his slow-mo actually works. It's not Snyder.
Yeah,
slow-mo.
in that one. The slow-mo in this one, there were some problems with the slow-mo at times. Like why are we doing
the constant Nick Cage close-ups from like down at his waist looking up at him? We got like 3 or 4 of those.
Or during the car chase scene, the shaky cam during the car chase, especially on Mason when he's in the Humvee. I hate, it's like, why are we shaky camming this? Why are we doing this? And here's the problem. These things, especially in a climactic moment with fighting with the mercenary and the ball in the mouth, it takes something away from me from this movie for it. Because I'm thinking this is dumb during a key moment of the movie. And that also brings me to another point. While Ed Harris's whole twist, masterfully done, Tony Todd's mercenary crew going evil, sloppy done.
It's so cliche. It's as soon as you see them, you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna make sure the evil just keeps eviling at the end.
Yeah, it's so uninspiring, and Tony Todd, with the limited stuff he's given there, he does great. I love Tony Todd in just about everything, but you wasted Tony Todd.
I think it would have been better. I love the moment where the major makes the decision whether or not to support Ed Harris at the end of the film. That's a great moment, but I think it would have been a lot tighter of a film if they had set up his turn against Ed Harris and have him be the one to finalize the act, because he has a story, he has an arc, and he nearly gets there at the end. So I have him be the one say, we've got to carry this through. They will not remember us right now. This is the only way. Have that arc instead of Tony Todd and that other mercenary dude. They're just evil for evil's sake. Like, you see them laughing and giggling in the bathroom scene.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so generically evil, but the major was a complicated character. Not to the degree of Ed Harris, but enough that I could buy his turn at the end. I think that would have been written a lot better.
Exactly. It's these small little things with little writing changes, directorial changes, that this movie could have been much tighter, much cleaner, and I would be giving it a slightly higher score than I'm going to give it tonight. But it did. Now, these are the criticisms. Outside of that, the rest of the movie is off to the races, action-packed from beginning to end. It starts at a high-octane speed, and with the exception of a couple low moments, it keeps it going. You have a believable relationship between Mason and Stanley, because Mason respects, despite the fact that Stanley is essentially a nerd, Mason respects him because they connected in terms of Stanley being an educated man, and he understands Mason where Mason's coming from. So they connect on that level. And also when Stanley does him the solid of not embarrassing him in front of his daughter.
Which he did not have to do. Like, it's undersold in that scene when Womack comes up and he's like, you destroyed half the city. He really did. There are countless people who died, which is another Michael Bayism. Like, if they hadn't gone so far,
forget people are dead. Yeah,
you forget people are dead. I can buy, like, if he had just slipped away or whatnot, punched Nicolas Cage in the face and then snuck off, I can buy Nick Cage doing that in that moment, saying, "Hey, no, he's actually working for us. We're good." And that moment working, but it's undercut by the Michael Bayisms. But yeah, he had no reason to do that. Solid for him. And I do love how. I'm pretty sure the daughter saw the FBI run up right after Stanley and put handcuffs on her father and Womack yelling at him. Like, she didn't have time to walk away. So that solid was immediately undercut.
Yeah, but it's the intent. Is
It's
that
the
counted?
intent that matters.
Yeah.
That's why the characters work. But the daughter having concerns, I think, would still be an issue.
And this might just be me because of my current lot in life where I'm very protective of my car, but I feel so much pain for people watching their cars get destroyed in these movies. I just think, man, don't let that be my car, please. No.
Dude, the moment where he drives into that car, knocks it into the lamppost, it crashes into the road, and then all those cars just fly up into the
It
air.
hurts me to see that. It hurts
It's
me.
too much. Like,
Yeah.
for most of the film, the physics are relatively solid. No one's
Mm-hmm.
doing crazy jumps or stunts. And then there's just random moments like that where you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was this type of movie.
Yeah.
It just gets so lowbrow.
It takes away because then when you get into The Rock and everything they go through, it's seriously tight shit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Going through all these things. Yes, is there more going on underneath The Rock than we think there actually is in terms of the mining tunnels and all that stuff? It's like, what's going on here? But the rest of it, it's believable. The sewers, the this and that, the furnaces and all those things. I'm good with that. The sneaking up, the getting busted in the bathroom and everything's up to it. It all makes sense. It's
The bathroom
all done.
scene is phenomenal.
Those
The
are some
tension of
great
it,
monologues.
The yelling at each other. I cannot give that order, sir.
That's a great
And
exchange. Great
I
exchange.
think it's one of the best in the film. Just action and writing working hand to hand so perfectly, so seamlessly, with the exception of the giggling mercenaries.
Yeah.
And just the heartbreak on Ed Harris's face in that moment is,
Yeah.
I think it's his best performance, at least that I've ever seen from Ed Harris.
Have you
I
seen The
think it's
Abyss? Have you seen The Abyss?
I haven't.
This is good.
Okay.
Director's cut's a little long, but it's still good. It's a really good performance. A completely different, totally different character. That's somebody who rages against the machine in that kind of movie, where he's anti everything that corpo and government represent. But but Ed Harris is fantastic in that scene as well, because you get at one point where the merc is going to finish off the dude that's dying, and he says, "No, holster that weapon, holster that sidearm," and he leans down and you can feel his pain in that moment. It's like, this is not what I wanted.
He tries to justify it right there. Damn you for putting me in this position.
Yeah,
To the camera.
Yeah. And because in the end, it was a bluff. Because if those stones hadn't fallen, and if the SEAL team member hadn't fired the first shot, which caused the chain reaction of events there, I think that nobody would have died. Nobody would have died. Because Ed Harris was not going to give the order for his Marines, his real Marines, to shoot, because those guys didn't want to shoot. And the SEAL team didn't want to shoot, because SEAL team realized, oh, we're fucked. We are fucked. And
that is a perfect kill box. Like, that is the worst position you could find yourself in strategically.
They had the high ground.
High ground that actually makes sense.
It made sense. Point is, I would say that's the most powerful scene in the movie, right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most powerful scene because you have two sides who understand each other. Because that's the other thing that is so disturbing to me. Listen, I'm okay with government bad storyline. I'm perfectly okay with that. But it's so disturbing to have a storyline where the government has turned its back on providing the benefits, the rightfully earned benefits to families of lost soldiers. And like we said at the beginning, it's hard not to have empathy with Ed Harris as General Hummel. Because it's like, I kind of want you to screw it to these guys for screwing over people who have not been given the benefits they deserve, they need to survive, when the person who was their breadwinner died on a black ops mission. You can't talk about it. It's such a complicated theme embedded in a Michael Bay movie that has moments of slop in it. And that's why this movie gets respect. That's why you understand when Mason says he's a soldier and a murderer. That's why Stanley tries to talk to them down, but of course at that point he's talking to the mercenaries. He's not talking to real soldiers anymore. He's talking to bad guys. These are guys who understand what's going on, and we don't have to do this, but they still end up doing it. And that's the tragedy of the whole thing, that it still ends up happening to an extent, and that good people died when they didn't have to. But yeah, so the whole thing, it's a fun ride. The action sequences are well done when they're in the good ones, the good action sequences, not the car chase crap with the ball in the mouth.
I love smart action sequences. Like, it's such a small moment in the film, and it shouldn't deserve credit. But when Sean Connery shoots out the air conditioning unit or whatever to come crashing down on the guy with the grenade, just I call those dynamic fight scenes where they're using the environment. So many films these days, whether or
Cutting
not
the
they're
rope.
using cutting the rope, whether or not modern films are using the volume or not, it feels like everything's on the volume. Like the fight scenes were choreographed without the set in mind, and so it's so static, not interacting with their environment whatsoever. But this film, all the fight scenes,
You feel
they
it.
were designed for that space.
Yeah.
And yeah, you
And
feel it.
respect, they had ammunition management. Clips
Mhm.
and magazines were replaced appropriately after much gun firing has been done. So I'm always watching that shit. Is it the endless clip, the endless magazine, or are they reloading? And the multiple times reloading, so much respect. I do love the way, as you said earlier, the way Mason will sometimes choose to kill. He's just gonna sneak up and snap your neck. He's gonna throw you over. A lot of people get thrown over.
I
ledges.
noticed that,
lot
especially
of
at
fall
the end.
deaths. A lot of
Mhm.
fall deaths in this movie when
Well,
you think
and
about it.
Mason was a spy. He wasn't a
Yeah.
soldier, so it makes sense that he'd be more comfortable with stealth kills like that.
Yeah, so a lot of fall deaths in this. I noticed that in this watch through yesterday. But all right, you got anything else you want to toss out there?
There's a couple things. There's a regret that I have with the film. I
Mhm.
don't know if it could classify as a problem with the film, but an unrealized opportunity.
Mhm.
I think Sean Connery's a little too good at everything. I would like to see him struggle a little bit, mainly with him being a man out of time. Like in the car chase, if we accept
The
the
car
car
phone.
chase,
The car
the
phone.
car phone, have him maybe be uncomfortable with the Humvee because it's, got a modern design. Maybe he only ever drove manual back in the day because that was way more common. Just little things where he doesn't have the knowledge to make the correct decisions, working with technology, with phones, not realizing that he can be tracked. Just little things like that to show how divorced from society he's been for the last few years. But once he gets his haircut, he's no longer a fish out of water. And I think there is a lot of potential for fish out of water scenes with him that would have given him a lot more conflict in the film. He has a great conflict with whether or not to be a good person with his daughter and everything, but I think there's something there that could have been realized to a greater degree. Can't quite classify it as a fault though. The last thing I have is a question for you,
Okay.
and it's a question that I'm glad the film doesn't answer. It's just one of those things that makes me think, and I enjoy thinking about this type of thing. At the beginning of the film, and pretty much throughout, Sean Connery maintains his innocence in his arrest, comparing himself to Rowley and Aristotle and stuff like that. Do you consider him innocent?
He's a spy, and
He
was
commits espionage against an allied nation.
Yeah, but that happens all the time.
Well, right.
It happens
but,
all the
I
time.
mean, it's still a crime.
It's a crime, but when he says I am not an evil man, he's not an evil man.
Oh, absolutely.
He was acting in the service of his country, which is the theme of this movie. People acting in the service of their country, and whether or not they're acknowledged or getting rewarded or awarded for it. I don't think he's an evil man, and I mean he committed a crime, but and his country acted appropriately. They disavowed. That's what you get disavowed, and you're done. And
That's
then
what I mean.
he gets forgotten.
I think a lot of people behaved correctly, or at least the way that you'd expect them to, because he did commit the crime he was accused of.
Yeah,
and his nation was right to disavow him, and the FBI was kind of right to hold him without trial with the espionage element of things, with the dangerous, sensitive material that was involved. That's why I love that dynamic so much, because he is guilty, but not a bad man, like you were saying. That adds such a detail to it, where they could have just gone, oh yeah, he was falsely accused, he was a fall guy for somebody else, and made it generic. But it's another example of going the extra mile to flush out these characters that I just love the writing. The script is solid as fuck.
Yeah, which I think will reflect my rating for today, because my points I've taken off for me are legitimately what I took off. So everything we talked about, that's where my points went away. So it's your week though. Soundtrack, standard Michael Bay action movie soundtrack, just dun, 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 in your face stuff. You know that dun, 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 that kind of crap, and it doesn't elevate or lower the quality of the movie. It's just there for scenes. It doesn't have a soundtrack, a score per se. Mason doesn't have a theme. Stanley doesn't have a theme. Anyway, okay. It's your week. You get to score it first.
All right. So this film is very tight from a writing and acting and characterization standpoint. There's so many great moments to it, so many grounded moments, but the Michael Bay-isms just drag it down so much. And it is at times a dumb fun action movie, even without the Michael Bay-ism. So that brings it down a little bit. There's a lot of unrealized potential, and a re-edit of the film would benefit it a lot. Trimming out some stuff. It's too long, I think. We don't need a lot of that first or second act stuff that you were referring to. I have to give this film a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. I'm not too far off with you. For me, as I already said, those sequences, the car chase, some of the writing, which the car chase leads up to, and the story decisions could have been written better, could have been performed better, and skipping a lot of stuff to get to a point which, like I said, just tell Mason the truth from the beginning. His daughter's there. He would have probably agreed with his daughter in San Francisco. Could have skipped a whole lot of stuff, problems there, and just had everybody on the same page. But instead, you needed angst. You needed people yelling at each other, screaming. You needed a car chase explosion because Michael Bay explosions. And then, of course, like I said, that final fight with Mercenary Number 2 and Stanley. It's just it could have been done better. The pearl in the breast pocket makes no sense. So with those in mind, those things drop it to me to an 8.5 out of 10, because it's a 9 or higher if that pearl is not in his pocket. If it's not in his pocket, it's a 9 or higher. But
it's the climax of the film. It needs to make sense.
Yes, and I don't need to be going, what the hell, when I'm watching a climactic fight or a moment. And honestly, I looked again watching it. I don't think he got the needle in his heart. Looked like it was a little too low.
It was way too low. Yeah. It was definitely low.
Yeah. It was too low. And I said earlier, great setup, one of the best setups and payoffs in any movie. That is, I always remember, like, yep, that needle. I don't know if I could do it. That's fucking crazy. Anyway, so there we go. The Rock, a quality movie, a fun movie, but as always, every movie has its flaws for the most part, and some are very large, some are minute. And we're going to talk about it because we try to have a fair discussion, despite the fact that these are fun, great movies, and we will always recommend them to watch it. Now, next week, my choice, I have a good one in response to a recent announcement of another of a remake. This is a remake of an original, but in one of those rare cases where the remake is better. For next week, we're going to watch The Thomas Crown Affair, starring Pierce Brosnan. It is, you want to talk about a movie that has it all. Fantastic acting, great script, great little story, incredible score with this music they choose for all the scenes. And it's a great kind of a suspense, crime, thriller, little romance in there. It's got everything. And Pierce Brosnan, this is during his Bond era. This is during his Bond era. So this is peak Pierce Brosnan in that time. So I think you're going to love it from a writing and directing perspective, Jed. I think you're going to love this movie. It's a great movie. It's a movie I watch every few months just out of pure joy because I love it so much. So there we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. That's another one in the books. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channels, and we'll see you next week. Until then, everybody, take it easy.